What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another reaction video. Today we're going to be reacting to a video called The Paint Schemes of KCS Colors of Resilience. KCS is short for the Kansas City Southern Railroad, which was a railroad that ran throughout the United States, I think into a bit of Canada and Mexico. I say was because they merged the Canadian Pacific to become the Canadian Pacific and Kansas City Railroad. That was in 2023, and the year after, the railroad ran a special excursion that went from Calgary, Alberta in Canada, all the way down to Mexico City, Mexico, through the United States of America. 2816, a Hudson locomotive, 464 steam locomotive from the Canadian Pacific, ran the excursion. It made history with that too because it was the first ever steam locomotive to ever go through the entirety of North America. In other words, throughout Canada, America, and Mexico, all three countries, or the three big ones, or whichever you want to call them, that are part of North America. So that was pretty cool. Now, why are we doing this? Well, I need to get some content up on this channel, and I was bored. I had nothing better to do. Though I am going to study a bit for my math exam that I've got on Friday, but I'll do it after this. So, yeah. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the video.
State of KCS throughout the years was often...
I'm going to rewind that. Don't ask why that ended up there. I've never seen it. In loving memory of Wayne Papa Perry. Okay, cool. Don't know who that is, but rest in peace to that person.
When it comes to the railroads of the past and present, more than likely the first thing that comes to mind is the color scheme used to represent their identity. This was no exception for the Kansas City Southern. From the vibrant streamliner image of the Southern Belle, to the less memorable years that followed the end of passenger service. From the quiet persistence of the Gray Ghosts, to one of the most striking heritage revivals in modern railroading. The state of KCS throughout the years was often reflected in its paint. In this video, we'll be taking a close examination of the evolution of KCS diesel schemes, starting with the first generation that replaced steam to the final era of the Retro Belle. These are the colors that defined Kansas City Southern. The era of steam was beginning to find itself in the rear view. The new diesel motive power was trending on a national scale. A majority of railways' steam power had very simple color designs, if any at all. But with the diesels coming in, the railways would be faced with the task of creating designs that they felt would best represent their company. The industry would see the utilization of simple designs with darker colors in this transition era, especially for diesels dedicated to freight service. The first diesel to arrive on KCS property would be number 1100. This would be the first of several EMD NW2 switcher locomotives purchased by the railway. Its paint scheme was simple, black with white lettering and the KCS octagon on the cab. Strikingly similar to the steam locomotives, this design would quickly see the addition of the white stripe towards the top of the hood. This scheme would be worn by the majority of the early era KCS switchers, from the NW2s and SW7s to the various outlier models from Baldwin and Alco. The GP7s and GP9s would also sport this simple scheme in their early years. While many of these locomotives would see multiple paint schemes throughout their careers, they are often associated with this simple freight scheme. The black paint is often overlooked or outright forgotten, which is a common theme with many railways' early freight designs. Though when it comes to passenger streamliners, this couldn't have been further from the truth. The railways competed fiercely for passengers during this era, and appearance mattered almost as much as performance. As a result, many streamliners were adorned with bold and extravagant paint schemes that emphasized motion, luxury, and modern design. These striking paint schemes were marketing tools meant to evoke excitement and prestige. They would help the railways create a memorable brand, making the train instantly recognizable in advertisement, just the same as the rails. When the Southern Belle was introduced in 1940, it was no question that its design would catch the eyes of everyone that saw it. The Southern Belle combined vivid colors with flowing lines that perfectly matched the streamlined locomotives and passenger cars of the era. The bell paint centered on a rich tricolor palette. Deep Brunswick green, though in many lighting conditions it appeared almost black. In contrast, a bright yellow highlighted the nose. Red would cover the roof section and also separated the colors with thin pinstripes to add visual warmth and contrast.
It's absolutely beautiful.
All three of these colors would run along the entirety of the locomotive's side, giving off a striking yet unmissable look. On the nose, two logos were primarily seen throughout the bell's existence, one being the KCS LNA Line's Aero logo, or of course the all-too-familiar octagon in its later years. The combination of these colors gave the Streamliner an old-fashioned southern charm while still looking modern and fast. Rail historians and enthusiasts frequently compare its visual impact to other famous Streamliners like the Super Chief or the City of Los Angeles. Similar to other railroads, only passenger service locomotives such as E and F units would bear this paint, though it is worth noting that for brief periods the Fairbanks-Morse H15-44s would be seen in Southern Bell paint during their passenger assignment days. On the freight side, both the F units and the Erie builds would carry a modified version of the Southern Bell paint scheme. While the overall pattern would remain largely unchanged, the primary distinction from the passenger livery would be the reversal of the red and yellow colors. While I'm not entirely sure if there was a dedicated name to this scheme, it's become common for most to refer to it as the Freight Bell. Out of all the designs KCS has seen throughout its history, this is one that is mostly overlooked. This can be attributed to its short-lived tenure. During this time, the Doremus legacy was still in its infancy. Doremus III had already achieved an impressive railroad career as the young president of the Chicago Great Western, as well as the Katy. Both of these roads would have locomotives painted into a simple red design with only lettering on the side and the company logo applied on the cab. When Doremus III took over the KCS presidency after his father in the early 60s, it was a little surprise to see Doremus red locomotives arrive as well.
Look at this.
The first locomotives to see this relatively blank paint scheme were the GP30.
You know, sometimes you don't have to go too over the top with stuff like paint schemes and stuff. Sometimes it's just keeping it simple that makes it work the best. Anyway, moving on.
But many of the F units, switchers, older Jeeps, and more models would see this simple design. Ironically, EMD would submit a publicity photo of the GP30 model with a white and black paint scheme with the KCS stop sign featured on the nose and cab. Along with it was a set of bright silver trucks. Though Doremus and KCS would reject the proposition and stick with the simple red design with the black roof and underframe. The era of Doremus red greatly reflects the era of railroading.
Bro, look at this. Look at this. Look at all the locomotives. A nice little combo. And all the colors too just flowing along. That's really cool to see. And just watching these history videos, just learning about history in general, it's very fascinating to me. That's a subject at school that I really like doing. History. I'm just trying to think. I remember one time in year 10 we were learning about World War II. And we were supposed to make like a presentation on a certain topic that happened at that time. I did Pearl Harbor, and it was good. It was very good. So, yeah. Just cool locomotives, cool combo. Yeah. I mean, it's good to see we're still keeping the colors up nowadays, because, like, look at the BNSF and the Union Pacific. Got bright colors on those locomotives. Anyway, moving on.
By the 1960s, the airlines and the introduction of the interstate highway system had crippled the nation's railroad passenger services. The focus was no longer on public image. It was now dialed in on cost savings and primarily the transportation of freight. Doremus III would follow this trend by running the longest possible trains with the motive power available.
Holy.
Six-axle locomotives were beginning to take the rail freight industry by storm. By the time the 60s had arrived, the SD40 model would fit perfectly within the KCS's operating system.
That's a classic locomotive, the SD40.
When the first SD40s were delivered in 1966, the era of the white paint would begin as well. Simple in design, just as Doremus red. It is unclear why the switch was made to white. Nonetheless, the bright white locomotives certainly would catch attention and stand out within the industry.
That actually looks better than the red.
A trademark of this scheme would be the
Stands
massive
out
red
more, too. Look at
KCS
it.
letters along the side of the locomotive. This design choice would prove to be popular and would stick around for decades to come.
Yeah, baby.
Most models would only feature this sod lettering and no other indications of the company. Though a select few switchers and F units rebuilt into slugs would find yellow KCS octagons applied to the nose or cab. Perhaps one of the most interesting locomotives to sport this scheme was the E unit. Two of the later models' Southern Belle paint would be replaced by this white scheme, signifying the dying passenger industry of KCS. Ironically, the final Southern Belle train would have a white E unit on the lead. These white engines were certainly sharp while shiny and fresh from the assembly lines, but this would not last long. As one can imagine, white paint is possibly the hardest to keep clean, and a majority of the motors to receive this paint would have every speck of dust visible to the naked eye.
Is it just me, or do I feel like dirty locomotives give off more character than clean ones? I don't know. It's just, to me, like, when I look at a clean locomotive, I mean, it's attractive. It's very attractive. And it looks really nice too, but a bit bland when it comes to its character. With dirty locomotives, on the other hand, while less attractive, they give more character. Why? Because it gives off the vibe that it's a hard-working locomotive, a really useful locomotive or engine, whichever. And just overall, it just makes you think, now that's a train. That's a train that's seen some stuff, been on the rails for a long time. And while there have been refurbishments to keep old stock going and extend their lifespans, I don't know, it's just really interesting, just, you know, to see some dirty car, train, or whatever vehicle. It just gives off a bit of character, you know. Anyway, that's just me. Okay, let's keep this going.
Perhaps this issue would lead to the following KCS design. In 1988, KCS 652 would be painted into the railway's newest look, Battleship Gray.
Ooh,
With the ability to hide
look
dirt
at
and
that.
ground better, the billboard KCS lettering would remain on the side of the locomotive. But perhaps the most memorable feature of this
Now
gray
that's
scheme would be the
attractive.
bright yellow
Look at
chevron
it.
stripes on the nose. While the white scheme would be commonly seen until the 2000s, the gray would quickly appear on just about
Oh
any
my god, look
locomotive
how dirty
model
that
on the
locomotive
railway.
is.
From the freshly delivered
Now that's a
locomotives to a
locomotive
pair of
that's been through
FB
stuff.
unit
That's what I was talking
slugs,
about before.
you name it. The first GEs to ever be purchased by KCS, the AC 4400s, would be the first to feature a rectangular decal with KCS lettering on the nose. Several road engines, such as the SD70 ACE, would have this incorporated in the design. This practice would carry on until the final days of KCS. During the reign of the Gray, the paint scheme was still considered conservative by many. Though KCS President Michael Haverty had begun an experiment, the acquisition of vintage locomotives
look at this one.
and passenger equipment. The final result of this experiment would be the Belle, a dedicated business train for executive trips. Based off the Southern Belle passenger service, the F-unit locomotives would sport a primarily Brunswick green paint scheme with the yellow and red striping that matches the passenger cars of the era. Though in 2007, it would be decided that the locomotives would receive the true Belle treatment, with the original passenger locomotive design returning in the modern
tons
age.
better and
Alongside
brighter
this
too.
endeavor,
And
KCS
therefore
would
more
begin its
attractive.
boldest rebrand yet. Under the reign of Haverty, KCS was moving away from being a humble and small regional line to a multinational powerhouse in the industry. With this change came the desire for a national image once more.
God, I'm yawning
While
so
the
much.
Battleship
Good
Gray
Lord,
was a
I'm
conservative
tired.
design, the Retro Belle would be a bold statement to all that the
Holy
KCS
hell, look
represented
at this
success. Based off the design of the Southern Belle, this vibrant paint scheme would become an all-time favorite for rail fans and rail historians. This design
For good
was a
reason,
perfect
too.
example of honoring the railway's past while looking towards the future with the industry's newest locomotive models wearing a timeless design. Retro Belle would be the railway's final paint design until KCS's final days in early 2023. Looking south of the border, TFM and later KCSM would feature similar paint schemes to its American counterpart. Blue NDM locomotives would be patched over with billboard-style KCS lettering, also seen on the white and gray paint schemes, with some only receiving the TFM flag logo on the cab. TFM would adopt the Battleship Gray as well, with the only major difference being the TFM lettering along the side. A few of these gray locomotives would receive unique lettering on the side for the North American Free Trade Agreement. This design would feature the flags of the US, Canada, and Mexican countries, as well as the logos of KCS subsidiaries Gateway Western, Texas Mexican Railway, TFM, and Panama Canal. With the Retro Bell rebrand as well as TFM becoming KCSM, the scheme would pretty much exactly replicate the American version, with the addition of small De Mexico subtext lettering. KCS would also retrofit a handful of locomotives for strictly maintenance of way service. These were very easily identified by their solid yellow paint. The last Mid-South locomotive on the roster would be utilized for this purpose, but also SD40s and even a pair of still active Dash 9s on CPKC. There are several more of the one-off KCS paint schemes, such as Veterans Unit 4006 and the infamous Bicentennials as well. There was also KCS 4859, with its sleek silver design that showcases the Safety Starts Here safety program. But this just about covers all of the major designs throughout the history of KCS. With the formation of CPKC, KCS influence can be seen in the newest Class 1's corporate look. Just about covers all of the major designs throughout the history of KCS. With the formation of CPKC.
Look at that. Look at it. It's fresh as hell. Got the red, that's yellow. Red, yellow, and black. Now that's attractive as hell. You know what this reminds me of? AWVR 767. That appeared in the movie Unstoppable, which was an awesome movie, by the way. I recommend giving it a watch. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's on Disney Plus, and trust me, you won't regret it. It is amazing. Anyway. That looks really cool. Look at that. Okay, let's move on down here.
KCS influence.
Look at this. Look at. I'm speechless right now, bro. I'm speechless. That looks very, very, very cool. Love it. All right. I can't wait to see what comes of CPKC. I'm eager to see it because they know what's up. They know what's up.
Influence can be seen in the newest Class 1's corporate look, with the black rear accented by the gold stripe, accompanying the system red of Canadian Pacific.
Yeah, baby.
With CPKC still in its early years, there are still plenty of locomotives out there repping the KCS colors, and this will still be the case for many years. Though as these years pass on, and the CPKC image overtakes the pair of fallen flags, be sure to get out there and document these locomotives while you can. I really hope that you've enjoyed this overview of the colors that defined KCS. Which one is your favorite? Let us know in the comments down below. Be sure to stay tuned for more rail content and future uploads. In a few weeks, we'll be traveling a very long way from home, and we can't wait to show you where we're going.
Ooh,
until the next time, my friends, I'll be seeing you somewhere out there along the rails, and as always, thanks for watching.
A very long way from home. Can't wait to see that. Wow. Just wow. Well, that was worth the watch. Definitely very entertaining too. If you want to see this video for yourself, I'll link it down in the description below. It's very good. I'm just thinking about where that guy's going. Louisiana Rail Productions, a long way from home. Where do you guys think he's going? Let me know in the comments below. Another really good reaction video. Oh god, I'm tired. Oh boy. Anyway, thank you so much for watching as always. And as always, if you enjoyed, smash a like, comment below what you want me to react to next. Subscribe to the bell to on notifications so that you never miss another reaction video like this ever again. And I'll see you next time, guys. So, goodbye.
I'm on my way to what I want from this world. And years from now, you'll make it to the next world. And everything that you receive up yonder is what you give to me the day I wonder. I took a right turn, and yes,